Welcome to the RTO Superhero Podcast with me, Angela Connell-Richards, where we'll explore the complexities of compliance and how to ensure business success within your RTO. This podcast is for anyone within the training industry who wants to learn from my experience as an RTO consultant, RTO manager, trainer and assessor, and entrepreneur, as well as the experience of other experts in this field. Listen in and let us help you become the RTO superhero you want to be. Welcome back to the RTO Superhero Podcast. In our last episode, we covered the big picture changes in the new standards. Today, we're going deeper, how the standards are going to impact trainers, assessors, and the day-to-day operations of RTOs. Lauren is back with me to unpack trainers and RTO leaders and what they need to do right now to ensure compliance. Lauren, great to have you on again.
Thanks for having me.
It's always awesome. Okay, so let's dive in. We're really going to be looking at the trainer and assessor credentialing and what's new. So from what you've seen and reviewed, what are one of the biggest areas of concern for RTOs when ensuring their trainers and assessors meet the compliance requirements? What's changed in the credential policy that you've seen?
Look, I feel like there's been a huge amount of conversation in and around this particular topic and in and around the credential policy for quite a long time now. I mean, certainly this came out, we had versions of it released in March of 2024 was when the first, kind of version major announcement sort of came into play. And then we've had the other version that's been a few days ago. I think one of the areas that I do find interesting is how they're starting to review training. So certainly I know that, like, I work with a lot of organizations whereby we get industry people to come in and deliver training and things like that. So we've got training and assessment credentials, and then we've got assessment only credentials. I know that there was questions about training that had been raised, through the consultation process. I don't really know whether or not that's been addressed sufficiently within the credential policy and within the standards as well. I think the idea of the training and assessment under direction is a good concept. And the reason why I say that is that I've got a lot of RTOs that, due to the trainer shortage, have had to bring in industry qualified people, partner them up with a trainer, and we've basically, I think over the last probably 3 years, I probably had worked with RTOs to put them out to people, and we probably put 20 or 30 trainers through the TAE in order so that we could, have trainers available in our industry, because there wasn't a pool of suitably qualified people. So, I think the idea that, you've got, the volunteer trainer delivery skill set, or, somebody who already holds the facilitation skill set coming in to learn that assessment side of things, I think it was necessary. We don't have the people in our industry.
Yeah, we just had too much of a shortage.
100%, yeah. I think the only area that it really doesn't provide for is and I know that I've got this question a few times. It's like, okay, well, if I've got somebody coming in from industry who's going to deliver training for a couple of days, they're not going to be overseeing the assessment. They're just going to be delivering. Do they need to have the facilitation skill set? Do they need to have the volunteer trainer delivery skill set? And I don't know whether or not that's been clearly enough covered under the standards, and I don't know how the regulator is going to intend to approach that particular component. I know it's something that we've struggled with funded training before, where we're getting the best people in industry to come in and deliver the training. And a funding department has gone, yeah, but they don't have their TAE, so we're not going to pay you for that particular component, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. Like, you've got industry best practice happening, and because of, the fact that there's not a TAE there, we're not going to recognize it. Like, wow, that sucks,
Yeah. 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 We've touched on this before. What are your thoughts on the removing the requirement to upgrade your TAE?
Yeah, again, like, I mean, I understand people's reservations and their concerns and the thoughts that we're quote unquote watering down industry. We are in a trainer shortage. We don't have enough trainers, particularly in areas like nursing, in areas like aged care, in all of the trades. We don't have enough electrician trainers to put electricians out there. We don't have enough builder trainers out there to bring builders into our industry to actually address the housing crisis that we've got in Australia.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's always going to be a bit of a give and take situation. This is something that had to be done. If they only have the TAE 10, but they're undertaking some regular vet to
PD,
and they've got good assessment tools, and we're reviewing their training strategies to make sure that they're engaging, and we're validating the competency decisions that they come to at the end, then you should have a system in place that can mitigate any potential risks that, that introduces.
Yeah. I recently delivered a web workshop on the vet workforce and what are the requirements, and in particular looking at trainers and assessors and how they can maintain their currency. And there are so many ways that they can do that. But I think for current trainers, it's going to mean, okay, you don't have to upgrade your qualification, but make sure you're doing your vet PD and you're keeping current with the changes, in particular with all the legislative changes that we've got right now. We've also discussed how the qualifications are going to change as well. You just need to stay ahead of those, being involved in assessment validation meetings and part of that component, that's great PD to really understand the assessment tools as well. So when it comes to the current trainers, I see it as a really good opportunity to, instead of having to upgrade to another qualification, focus on just ensuring your skills are current within the vet sector and your industry sector. It allows more time to do that. I think for new trainers, though, I think it's a great opportunity for bringing in new trainers and having them under mentoring with other trainers, not having to hold the qualification but working towards. I think that is a great change, and we did see that change come in earlier last year due to the skill shortages that we have. So when we look at the credentialing changes, what are your, there hasn't been a lot of change that I've seen because they did implement it last year. I don't think there is a major change other than that. The main part for me is you can maintain your 2010 or just whatever qualification you're on, then maintain that vet PD. How do you think it's going to impact trainers when it comes to their professional development? Do you think they'll take it on board?
RTOs, most good RTOs know that there's some pretty major changes coming in 2025 and 2026. And so they are, there is a plan in place to kind of go, okay, well, we're going to need to talk about how we're going to be covering all of this. So I think that for the vast majority of trainers out there, it'll mostly be business as usual. I think it probably makes it a little bit easier for example, our secondary school teachers that are delivering vet in schools. I know that's always been an area of concern for regulators. It's always been an area of concern for schools. Various states have brought in different measures and mechanisms. Like I know WA will pay for trainers to go out and undertake industry currency, like industry workplace experience. Depending on the industry, that works to varying degrees of success. Obviously, there are certain industries where you really just can't allow somebody on the floor for something unless they work in the organization. So I think broadly it does just actually give a little bit of relief to the sector on how we go about doing this. Again, it's just going to boil down to, if you've always been doing it, that's great. You've just got to make sure that you're documenting it. And that's often the area where they're doing.
I found it very interesting with the quality area vet workforce. It seems to be the onus now is on the RTO to ensure that ensuring that their trainers are having PD. What do you think, based on your experience, what do you think RTOs will struggle most with when it comes to adapting to these changes?
Contract trainers. So there's definitely a lot of RTOs that, with their contract trainers, really do push back in this area and kind of go, we're not going to pay for any PD. We're not going to provide you any PD. And that's always been a real area of like debate between trainers and RTOs. Who's responsible for, for example, like I've had trainers that have had, one trainer matrix. That trainer matrix is fully compliant. They've taken it to another RTO as a contract trainer, and the RTO has gone, well, no, you need to do it in our format. And the trainer's gone, but I've given you evidence of my competency and currency. And they've gone, no, you need to do it. And the trainer's gone, okay, fine. Well, if you're going to pay me to do it, then that's fine. And they've gone, no, you've got to do it on your own time. Right? So I think that sort of stuff, the onus is on the RTO to make sure you've got evidence of it. So I really don't think that you can be asking a trainer and assessor to put together their own trainer matrix in their own time. I don't think that's going to fly. And certainly under the new standards, I think that you do have it. I mean, I believe that RTOs always have an onus, and certainly there's heaps of free PD out there. So like, even if it's, hey, we're going to pay you, sit and watch this podcast, answer these questions after the podcast. Like, I know we provide a service where we basically go, look, if you watch one of our podcasts and you want to document it as PD, we'll send you out a form
link.
You can fill in that form, you can send it back to us, and then we'll provide you with a little certificate. So we do that for like a lot of people, like a lot of trainers and assessors in particular, to help them document their professional development. But RTO should be like, you should be training your trainers on, if you're a registered training organization that cannot be bothered training your own staff, it's a red flag. Like, it just is. It's like all of these RTOs that have never bothered training their bloody admin, and it's like, so your admin is like your first line of compliance defense. Like, they are, and
it's now in the standards. It's now in the standards that all staff need to undergo vet PD. So I think, even if you've got contract trainers, bring them in with all your other staff and do the training together and have that vet PD there where they get involved. One of the things that I used to do when I had my RTOs, I'd do 2 PD days a year. Half a day would be assessment validation and the other half would be training for the trainers. And it was a great day. I didn't pay them because they were all contract trainers, but I provided lunch and I gave them a certificate of attendance. So they got that PD and we had it.
They're RTOs, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I think when it comes to the vet PD, I think, and if you've got contract trainers, just bring them in with all of the other staff that you have. And it's so easy now. You can even do some videos and just provide them with videos. We've got our EduStream YouTube channel. I know you've got a YouTube channel as well where they could go on there and be watching some of those videos as well while they're cooking dinner. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
documenting it. And I think that, again, this is where trainers struggle is they might be engaging in some of these practices but not documenting it, right?
That's correct.
And so, like, you've got systems like Accelerate where literally you can just go and pop a note in and you can pop a piece of evidence in and link it to specific units. You've got structures like, if you really want to jump onto a Teams with yourself, with your AI once a month, document all the things that you've done that month. The AI will produce it as meeting minutes and, keep that in your system.
Put it on your PD register.
Right. There's lots of different ways of doing it. And it's just really, if you're engaging with things, it's so easy to document nowadays. And that's the part is that trainers don't think about. It's like, if you're going to jump onto a meeting with a couple of industry guys, right? Have AI document that meeting and just chuck the meeting notes up there.
Also get the AI to do a summary of what are some of the key things that you need to change in your training to improve the training and assessment. Because it's so easy now with all these bots, we can do that and we just have a conversation with someone and then the AI bot can break it down for you. So, yeah. So when it comes to ASQA and trainers and assessors, what do you think they'll be targeting when it comes to trainer assessor files and PD?
I mean, look, trainer matrix is always document number one, right? And I think the area that I see that trainers fail with their trainer matrices time and time again is contextualizing industry currency to the units that they deliver, right? So the copy and paste, I don't know why, but it's just you get the same statement over and over and over and over and over again. We have a process whereby we now sit with trainers and we'll ask them questions. We'll do a half-hour interview. It's recorded by AI. We then chuck that we chuck the full transcript into ChatGPT. We document all of that information and then we pull out statements against each unit of competency, and then we'll jump back online with the trainer and we'll review it. Now, we've had to come up with that process because unfortunately, trainers seem to sit in front of this. There's like a mental block, I think, for a lot of trainers when they sit with this document, and it's like
I don't know, an exam. I can't get back at school doing an exam. Yeah.
100%. And they just it's writer's block hits like there's no tomorrow. Whereas when we take them through this process, and I mean, you could do that process internally in-house, with anyone, is that then they're refining something. So they've got a starting place to refine and go, well, I did do that. And actually I created this dish, or, I did that project and we ran into this problem, but then we solved it by doing this. And so I find that trainers work a lot better refining statements than they do creating them from scratch. So, if you're a trainer and you've got to develop your trainer matrix, really struggling, my suggestion is jump onto a call with someone, pull up the name of each unit of competency, right, that you've got to put into your trainer matrix, have AI in the chat with you, and for each unit, just talk about, I worked in this restaurant or I worked in this business. Just talk to your industry experience on that particular topic at a very high level, right?
Yeah. And you don't need to go into each performance criteria. You're just doing it overall over the unit.
But it gives you that starting point to start to address how you are and it does allow you to think about your industry currency. And when you get to certain points, you are going to, as a trainer, go, God, I haven't really done anything on that in, 5 years, 10 years. And when you come to that point, that's when you go, okay, cool. So that then forms my PD plan for next year. That's what this is over the next 12 months. I'm going to need to cover these 3 topics because these are the ones where I'm like, well, actually, I really haven't really touched on that for quite a long time.
Yeah, yeah. And I think so. What I was going through with the vet workforce training was do an audit. And that sounds very similar. It's doing an audit of your skills and knowledge against the units that you are delivering, to identify where those gaps are and then just fill those gaps. It's not just, okay, we need to do vet PD, I'll just go off and do something. It's really identifying where is the gaps that I have currently and what do I need to do to fill those gaps so that then I'm current in that area. Yeah. I think that's going to be.
We have a new training package framework coming out in 20. It's been released, and I'm sure that we'll talk about that in a lot more detail as training packages start to roll out. Yep. But many of the training packages are going to be getting rid of performance criteria and elements, and they're going to be moving just to knowledge and skills, performance evidence, required evidence. That's going to be a big change. It's going to, I know a lot of the training packages are really genuinely engaging in this process this year of like, okay, let's see where we can massively overhaul. Get involved, jump onto your training package provider, whether it's Build Skills, whether it's Saxa, whether it's, Future Skills,
or even just go down to training.gov.au, that you can find all of that out on training.gov.au. So who is if you don't know, so I'm just filling the gaps here, if you don't know where to find that. And on training.gov.au, on the homepage, it shows you all of the packages that are under review right now. So you can go there, see what's under review. You also can see who is the JSC. So you can go to them and learn more. And that should also be part of your PD.
Yeah. And I mean, look, that's a great opportunity to, try and enact some of those changes. I know that a lot of the JSCs, and for those that don't know it, that's a Jobs and Skills Council, also previously referred to as a Skills Service Organisation,
or Industry Skills Councils.
Industry Skills Council. We've been through a lot of that.
How long you've been in the training industry?
But they are keen. Many of us would remember the disaster of the RII 2015 release. It had such a huge impact on our industry, because of the way the training package was written. A lot of it could have been avoided by making sure that, we had, there was more consultation, there was more consideration that was taken into that. Jump on, get involved, provide your feedback, talk about what, and trainers so rarely get involved in this process. Like when you go and you look at a lot of these projects, we're getting feedback. There's feedback happening from industry. There's feedback happening from, compliance staff and CEOs and RTO owners. But as a trainer, you understand the issues that occur within your training package. You understand that, when you mention in telecommunications that it's an RJ45 as opposed to, what it's more commonly referred to in industry or vice versa, you understand that when they've put particular criteria in the cybersecurity package that is now completely and utterly redundant, you understand when they put into the hospitality training package that you've got to cook, one of the things I hate is that I hate the game. I hate game being put into the units, right? Like I hate the fact that you've got to cook goat as part of your general meat unit when there's not a lot of restaurants that, utilize goat and game products, in a lot of their restaurants, right? So you understand the challenges that presents to you. You understand the cost that's involved for your students. Every time you have to turn around to your students and go, I know, guys, I'm sorry, but it's in the training package. That's the feedback that you should be sending through.
It's what they need.
To the FSO, like to Future Skills organizations, to Build Skills, to SACS. Like that's the feedback that they want to receive. It's like, I am constantly having to apologize for this training package in this aspect, right?
Yeah.
We don't do it anymore. The students don't like the students hate it. It's not relevant, and the only reason why I have to cover it is because it's in the training package,
Get involved.
That's the feedback that you need to be pushing forward, because that's what they need to know in order to make things better. And, if you're not part of the solution, then you don't get to bitch about the problem.
That's right. Okay. All right. Let's have a look at some practical steps for implementation. If an RTO hasn't started preparing yet, what's the first thing they should do following listening to this podcast?
So pull out and figure out what if you have a policy, number one, where that policy is and where it lies and who's aware of it. And then produce a list of your actual trainers and assessors and work out who you've got what for. The biggest challenge that I see when I go into audit an organization is the RTOs getting hold of the documentation.
Yeah.
That is the biggest problem that I have is I'm like, I'm going to audit this trainer. Oh, okay, I'm just going to have to call them and find out where all of their stuff is. I'm like, okay, cool. But that is the most common problem that I have.
I think the first thing they should do is an audit of all of their trainers' matrices and PD, put together some PD plans. If you've never done a PD plan before, now you need to do it, and look at PD that you can do for everyone on your team. So bring those trainers in for the vet PD side, but with the trainers, like what we've already said, identify what those gaps are. The first thing you need to do is do an audit, identify where are those gaps. And I think, getting your trainers on a one-on-one conversation and getting them speaking through each unit of competency is a great way to do it as well, because you're really going to then identify where the gaps are. So are there any quick wins or immediate actions RTOs can take to ensure they're moving in the right direction?
Yeah, look, I mean, as I said, like sometimes, first collate your documentation. Do I have a trainer matrix for everyone? If I do, and half of them are like 3, 4, 5 years old, okay, your first step is, all right, let's just book a half-hour session for the trainer to sit with a compliance person, and let's just do a review and an update. We'll record everything that we do in that session, and then we can maybe flesh some stuff out from there. Right? That's step number one. That's a nice, easy win. We know there's going to be gaps. We know there's lots of free PD available online. So the other thing that we're going to do is we're just going to book. We're going to ask all of our trainers to go and watch this podcast, watch, another podcast on the RTO standards. And then we're going to get everyone together on a Zoom call with the quality team, and we're going to do a Q&A, right? What do you guys want to know? What are your concerns? What are our next steps? It's all documented. Meeting minutes from that get uploaded automatically into the quality register. And we've got something. Yes. The other thing I think that you need to be doing is utilizing, look at the systems that you've actually got. I think there's so many RTOs that are paying for multiple systems and not using them. You don't need to have a separate document management system, a separate quality management system, a separate finance management system, a separate student management system, and a separate, learner management system. I'm always being told, and I do laugh, people are like, oh, but Accelerate's a little bit expensive. And I'm like, okay, can we just sit down for a second? Let's just sit down for a second. Okay, so let me get this straight. You're paying this much for your student management system. You're paying this much for your Moodle, right? On top of your Moodle, you've got somebody two days a week in order to maintain that Moodle, right, that you're paying for. You've got a separate document management system, and then you've got a separate quality management system that supposedly maps all your policies and procedures that nobody can even tell me what the login, nobody can even give me the frickin' login details for it. Yeah. I'm like, okay, so I'm tallying all of those things up, and I'm like, okay, so between all of those 5 systems and that staff member, you're paying $40,000 a year. I don't think Accelerate's more expensive than that, doll.
Yeah, it's really reviewing what systems are you using and what is the capacity of the other systems.
much are you actually using that system? You know, like
right.
if you're paying for a system but not using it, like I was looking at someone the other day and I went into their Zero, and through the course of this review, we realized they had 2 zeros. They had 1 zero for the staff to raise the invoices, right, for the students. And then they had a separate system where all of the business expenses were running out of, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, and I sit there and I'm like, what the F are you, like, are you kidding me? Why? And they're going, and like the owner's like, I don't know why. Like,
someone told them to do that.
And then like we got on the phone with the bookkeeper, and the bookkeeper was like, oh, well, yeah, like I use this one for this one, but then the accountant uses this one for this one. I'm like, this is madness, people. This is madness. Stop this. You're raising invoices in Accelerate and 2 separate Xero accounts. Like this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know,
really do an audit of your systems.
What systems you're actually using, and then what your systems can actually use, and start to use the systems that give you the most bang for your buck.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. All right, Lauren, this has been fantastic as per usual. Love having you on. But before we wrap up, what's your biggest tip for trainers and assessors, not the RTOs, the trainers and assessors, when it comes to navigating these new requirements?
So I think there's still a lot of trainers and assessors that aren't using AI, that are scared of it, that aren't using a lot of the tools. So as a trainer and assessor, Fireflies or Read AI, okay, I would be getting a subscription for that and utilizing that in any of the meetings that you're running with like admin staff or with managers or with quality staff or with industry. That's going to be a massive help to you later on down the track. If you're not comfortable with GPT, you need to start getting comfortable with it. Your students are using it. So if you're not, you're going to be left behind.
Putting your head in the sand.
There's actually like so many time-saving things that you can do. There's so many like tools and techniques that where AI can be helping you to work smarter and not harder. You know, whether it's producing session plans, whether it's coming up with ideas for the classroom, whether it's helping you to produce some schematics for a build project that you want to do. Start to engage with some of these resources that are going to make your job, like that's going to allow you to work smarter, not harder. And you know, you don't need to sit there and read a legal instrument, right? I get that you don't want to do that as a trainer and assessor. Engage with podcasts, engage with, you know, with you, like find a couple of decent YouTube channels. You know, Mark Miles is great for training content. You know, you and I both have podcasts for compliance content. Like engage in content in a way that works for you. You have your own way of wanting to learn, just as all your students have your own way of wanting to learn, whether it's audio, visual, whatever, whether it's talking to someone. All of those things are possible without utilizing somebody else's time. Figure out the way and the medium that works for you. The rules of evidence are still very clear that you as the trainer and assessor are the person who is responsible for determining competency. And so that's never going to change. And so you do have an onus of responsibility for understanding trading packages, understanding, you know, the rules of evidence and the principles of assessment. If you engage in nothing else, engage in PD around that particular topic, because it's going to work to protect you, to make sure that you are not putting yourself into a position where you're at risk.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with all of that. So what I'm going to do in the podcast notes, I'm going to include those links. So to your YouTube channel, Lauren, I'll also have my YouTube channel. If you can share with me some others that we can put in the notes as well, so that we're going to share with you what are these free things that you can access and go to these YouTube channels and get started, because I know Lauren's already been doing quite a few videos. I've got quite a few FAQs. As I said, they're only 1 minute long, so nice and easy to get through as well. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, don't worry. Compliance is a journey, and we're here to guide you through this. Join our RTO Community Facebook group. So we've got a Facebook group called RTO Community. We've also got another one called the RTO Job Board. So keep the conversation going. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much, Lauren. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at the RTO Superhero Podcast with me, Angela Connell-Richards. Please take a moment to rate and review the podcast on your preferred podcast app. Each rating and review helps me fulfill my goal of helping training organisations around Australia to learn and grow in compliance and business success.